policies. Let's go now look at our income reconciliation area itself. This is in our business area and is only visible to those that are admin or owners. And we have a block of tiles. So these are our payment periods. And you can see in here from this site, we've got some in January, which we haven't closed yet because we haven't actually loaded any bank receipts on. But we have some expectations and some provider statements. And we've also got some figures in this month. Let's look at this in more detail. So I've got 21,369.11 expectations. We've already got either provider or transactions in and no bank statements. I'm in my expectations for this month, and you can see in here that we've got all of the details of different clients. It's a lot of detail in there, so you can filter by client. So if we just look at Rob, because it's Rob that we've just entered those on, you will then see that we've got that £10,000 and the 750 that he is paying, and we've got our Prudential ones in here. You can also filter by policy number. And if we go in more detail, you can even filter across who sold that, any revenue types, where the money's come from, your reconciliation status. So each morning you could only look at just the unreconciled. So you're filtering out the things that you have already reconciled. The other things that you can do in here, if you realize that you want to have a look in more detail about something, for example, this 2050, I can view the expectation here and it will take me straight to a page detailing the expectation, the advice area, any splits, and any statements or notes that could have been reconciled. I can also jump straight to the policies, the client, and other information. If I want to edit something, I can edit the expectation here. Balancing to zero means I'm no longer going to receive that money. I don't want to delete it. I'm going to balance it off, so that would change that to nothing. And if I want to enter or edit, my advice area, I select edit. For now, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go straight back to my payment period in here, and I'm just going to look at the options that I've got. So against each option, you have tick boxes. What that will do is, just like we did individually, you can balance expectations. We can do that for multiple ones in here. And you saw that that is the only option when you've got multiple items ticked. Or in here, this is where we can reconcile to a statement, which I haven't put on yet, so I'm going to not do that. If we then want to look at our provider statements, at the moment, we have no provider statements at all. So what I'm going to show you is how to manually add a provider statement for those providers that still send it on paper. And I will also show you how to upload those automatically. So for February, I'm going to manually put on a statement, create a statement here for this payment period with Prudential. I'm going to do a date, and let's say it's today. I can put a reference in here. So I'm just going to do Prudential, and this is for February. That creates your statement header. So this is number statement 3 in this site. It's with Prudential, and we have no totals yet. You can go and edit that and delete from your usual actions area. We now want to add the transactions. So what we're going to do is start putting the details in. We've got Rob Lowe and we've got £2,050. I'm going to put that in as today. We then have our policy number. And we have our category. So that's our revenue type in here. So this one was our initial fee. That's the basic information that you do need to add on a provider statement. If you've got further information that the provider may have sent you, you can put that. And this is where you can enter gross and nets and a lot of further details. But for now, I'm just going to add another row. I'm actually going to copy the details for the ongoing in. And this one was our £1,000 that we've got there. We've got our date. We've got our policy number. And we've got our category in here, which is our ongoing. Once you're happy with that, we can save both of those transactions. And in here, what that has done is it's automatically matched that one. And for some reason in here, it hasn't. So you'd go and investigate why that one hasn't matched. But it was just a little refresh. So you can see both of those have found my expectation and matched automatically and 100%. If you want to look at how that looks on the system against the transaction, you've again got your view provider transaction. So we're now looking at what's come on the statement. Again, you can add notes and what it has reconciled to. At the moment, we have no bank transactions. So let's go back all the way back and you'll see in here that our figures have now changed automatically at the top level. We're now going to manually put on our bank statement. So if I create a bank statement in here, I'm just going to say it's today. And what I'm going to do is put my amount of money, which was 3050. Whoops. Today. And save that transaction. We've now uploaded just one line item from your bank statement. We will show how to import a bank statement very, very shortly. So you now can match this to your provider statement. You have two ways of doing this. Within the bank area, again, we've got our views. We can select our toggle here and we can reconcile to a statement, or we could go back to our provider statements. And again, in here, we can reconcile that to bank. So whichever preference that you work, you can do that. I'm going to, because I'm in my provider statement, reconcile that to the bank. It's brought up that automatically because we actually only have one. But in here, you can always filter by reference. You can look at previous payment periods in there. And I'm just going to say, actually, no, this is my amount of money. Let's tick that and reconcile. What that is doing is attempting to match. If I just do a little refresh, you will now see that I have 3 green ticks. If I look at that provider statement, the underlying items underneath it are also reconciled. So let's go back and see how that looks on here. You can see that we've got more detail. And if we go back to our expectations, you can see that 2 lines of that are now matched. Let's go back to reconciling on here. I'm actually going to go back in and I'm going to go to my reports as well, so I can see what I've done and I can look at all my charges and my clients. Income reconciliation. I'm actually going to close off some of the work that I hadn't done for January. So what do I need to do for January on there? I am going to now upload a provider statement. In here, we've got a standard life one. This is for January. So I'm going to say it was received in here on the 10th. We've got references. We now upload our CSV in here. So on mine, I've got some files. So let's go to our demos folder, our statements folder. and I've got a statement that has come in for January. We then press continue. This is the first time I've uploaded a standard life statement. So what is asking me to do is map fields. As a minimum, Plannr needs to know the client name, policy number, the gross amount, and the RMAR category. So we have all of the fields in here that we've got on our system and what we are matching it to here. So we can see we've got date. So mine's called transaction date. We've got an amount of money. We don't have on the provider statement gross and net. We've just got net. So I can put that in there, but I'm going to also not ignore that one and put that one in. We have our policy number. We have our category, which is our revenue type. We've got our client name. On this statement, it's not just one column, it is surname and forename split. So again, I can choose to not ignore those. We now have everything matched. We will also have to match our revenue or charge categories. We've got some indemnity on here and some level. It then gives you a preview of what you've got. If you're happy with that, you can press everything looks good. Start that import. What that has done is it's pulled that file in. Just do a little refresh in here and you can see that that has matched that completely for that client. That's how to bring a statement in bulk on there. If we go back to our provider statements, you can now see that we have got our all provider statements. We're not in the month because you can view things as a whole. You don't have to go and just look in the month that you're in, but you can see I've got those statements in here and I need to do some bank reconciliation. What I'm going to do is now do a bank statement and I'm going to upload a bank statement for my payment period, which is January. We're going to put that in and say the money came in on the 25th. Choose my file. So in here, I have got some bank imports, and let's do the one for January. Continue. Again, it's the first time, so we need to match our columns. We can see the details in here. If you're happy with it, you can import it. We now have the 3 lines of that bank statement. If we just go back to the bank statement in here, you can see it's there. What we want to do now is sort of match those and look at them. But let's first go and look at just January. Can you see now we've got a whole match across the piece? So let's go to the provider statements in here. Let's go in and do my standard life in here. So we can see in here we've got standard life. We can also see that we want to do our prudential in here. So here's our prudential. And that's done. We've also got that line, haven't we, for Johnny Depp in here. So we can also look at these in here. So we've got both of those. We are going to reconcile to a bank. And we can see that we've got that in here. What I've now done is I've actually successfully matched everything in January. We can see we've got green ticks all the way across. I have the ability to export all of that data for January, which I'm going to do in the background. And I'll come back to the reporting shortly. So there's January. How do I close off? If I now want to close that off, I can lock that reconciliation period and press yes. We then have, we can do exactly the same for our February if we wanted to. I'm just going to upload them to show you some of the uploads, but I'm not going to match because I want to concentrate on the reports. Let's upload a provider statement. Standard life for today. Choose my file. And this is now our statement for February. And continue. What you will see now is you don't have to map anything because it's recognized you've had a standard life statement. We always recommend just checking that if the provider sends it in a different column, a different order, but the column name remains the same, it will map those. So you can see that those are all nicely mapped. Level, we've mapped before, but we've got 2 new revenue types or charge types, so we need to match those ones. And we've got our ongoing fee. We can see on this statement, we've got a few line items and import. If I just do a little refresh on here, it's going to look, and some of these I've made sure that I haven't got those providers or anything on there. So as an example, we've got one for Demi Moore here, and we've got some level commission in here that we've just received of £25. We could go and actually go and match that to the statement if it's a different policy number. We can also in here create an expectation if the expectation wasn't on. So you're able to do all of that within your statements area. Just like we did with the provider statements, when there's a number of them on there, you can also upload a bank statement in full. So let's just go to our bank statements. Again, just like your provider statements, if you have mapped one before, it is going to remember all of that mapping, and we've got all of our details in here. Start the import, and then of course you can go through your reconciliation process on there. Obviously, we're only on the 2nd of February, so we've got a lot more going to happen in February, but we can see now what our tiles are looking at, and we can see that one is fully green in here, and we've got those on there.